Hello, everybody. I'm very pleased to welcome you to our Catch and Do session. And as you know, the Catch and Do is dedicated for you to catch very interesting information on where is the value and to do action so you can engage and capture this value. Today, the question we would like to raise is really the equation balance between profits versus circularity. And indeed, as well, as you know, the Catch and Do session are always dedicated to ask ourselves what we believe are the right question and important question to ask ourselves. So as you will see, this session will be very, very interactive. We are asking you the questions that we will ask after to our great speaker today, and then we will be able to compare also what you were thinking before, and then what you have learned from this session. So this session is part of the Impact Week. Impact Week is an action we are driving at BLUMORPHO every year, actually, to set up a good ecosystem of key innovation stakeholders, corporate, private investors, startups, and also key experts to define what actions could be driven to have a positive impact on the environment. We are deep tech experts, but we strongly believe that deep tech are here to survive the environment and the social economy and to make a positive economy, actually. And this year also, we are very happy to have a good collaboration with the European Commission, since this Impact Week is part of the European Commission Green Week, with the same objective, meaning that the goal is to engage the right action to reduce the pollution and to make the environment friendly. Just quickly, we have a very nice panel of speakers this year again, and you have some example here. So today, you will see we have Julien BOURCERIE from BOURCERIE Construction. And next week, I would like to pay your attention to the presentation by Professor Paul Ekins, who will join the C-Voucher 2 days event, where you will have also a great opportunity to meet with the great ecosystems of different regions across Europe engaging into circularity. So if you're very interested in this topic of circularity, please join us also on the 25th of May. And 2 days after, we're going to have Andrew Shannon from Circularity Capital, who will also explain why he's investing so deeply into circularity. And then you see we have a great program with EIF joining as well, with Argo Wiggins joining about the topic of paper, either paper, the future of electronics, and also investors with a mid-investor session with participation of Ship2B Ventures, but not only, we have also a lot of private investors joining. And blockchain is part of the subject. And finally, we're going to have a session dedicated to smart marina and smart yachting, because you will see great actions are currently ongoing to support a nice environment and to engage actions for sustainable marina. So you will be welcome to all the session. I mentioned already our sessions are very interactive. So you will see we're gonna ask you a lot of questions during the session. So for you to really not only listen to Julien, but also to think yourself about what are the very important points. And to test yourself and also to know a bit more how you feel today, we would like to ask you the meteo of the day. So yes, sorry, before we go there, maybe we can, Julien, we can open the meteo of the day because we're going to ask our participants how they feel.
So what we want to know today is if you feel sunny, cloudy, rainy, or stormy.
So basically, it's your meteo, how you feel yourself. And actually, I'm thinking that everybody seems to be, oh, I'm saying that, and we have some cloudy people joining. So, but most of you are quite sunny, meaning that everything seems to be going well. Great. Okay, so basically, you know how to use this tool, so that's really perfect, and that was the goal. I didn't introduce myself yet, but I will do it right now. So I'm Géraldine Andrieux, the CEO of BLUMORPHO. And as you know, BLUMORPHO is dedicated to support disruption, meaning getting access to the best technology, to apply the best business model, to have, as I was mentioning, a strong impact and strong growth actually on the economy, with the goal to develop new concept product, new venture, and new collaboration scheme. I'm here with Julien Crebassa from BLUMORPHO.
So hi everybody, I'm Julien Crebassa. I am an innovation business developer at BLUMORPHO, and since I'm passionate about sustainability and including circular economy, that's also why I am here with you today and with us. And I'm very happy to, and we are very happy to welcome with us today another Julien BOURCERIE from Brick Construction. So Julien is the head of open innovation and corporate venture at Brick Construction, with expertise in innovation methodologies, with a strong experience in startup cooperation and designing acceleration programs. So follow the session. If you want to ask questions to us, to Julien, or to open discussion, you have a question box on the right of your screen in the GoToWebinar interface. So do not hesitate to type your question there, and we will come back to them at the end of the session during the Q&A session.
So welcome, Julien.
Hi, Julien.
Welcome. Thank you very much for greeting me here with you. I'm really happy. You will see I have a personal story with circular economy, so I'm really pleased to share that with you.
Yeah, actually, you created a company on circularity before joining Big, right?
Exactly. I will come back to that.
Great. No, but that's really good, because actually, you know, we would like to know also, and I'm sure Julien would like to know also who you are and what is your profile. So again, we have a short question for you. So we'd like to know if you are startup, SMEs, large company, investors, or other profile. It's always good to know who we are speaking with, and especially for Julien joining us today. So
people
responding. Yeah, because we see who is voting. No, I'm kidding, but we know how many people are answering the question.
I think we can close and we'll share the audience today with you.
Perfect.
So we have a majority of startups and SMEs, but also some large companies and other types of organizations, such as, I think, RTOs or clusters.
Research organization. I know that innovation clusters are joining us also. And we know also that in Europe, we have a lot of clusters active in manufacturing. So welcome, everybody. We are very pleased to have you with us today. And I think it's really the great timing to start discussing about this topic of circularity. And to do that, again, you know, it's very interesting to understand this challenge of circularity in the construction and building industry. And to think about it, we will ask you, our participant today, your point of view, and according to you, what is keeping Julien awake at night? So what are the main challenges of people like Julien working in the construction industry, building industry? So Julien, do you want to explain the different questions? So what could be what is keeping Julien awake? Is it enable construction from recycled materials? Is it to contribute to the long-term vision of BRIG? Is it to invest in high return of investment and sustainable startups?
So we see that people are still responding. Yeah. Do not be shy. You can say what you want.
Exactly. Before you are closing the session, and then we can have a look to it after we have covered this point with Julien. Actually, Julien, we are very interesting to know that. So what are the biggest challenges today in the construction industry? And according to your position yourself, what is your own challenges? What is keeping you at night, actually?
Well, so it's my turn to answer now.
Exactly.
Well, I like the proposition you made. It's more or less the mission we have in my team of open innovation, corporate venture. As open innovation, we have the mission to explore and to understand signals coming from startups, coming from partners, coming from internal employees, so that we can bring or feed the vision of big construction. So that's one of the points that you mentioned in your question. The other thing is you mentioned invest in high ROI startups. And of course, that's the main point of open innovation, is to gather partners with internal insights project executives. And the idea is really to leverage the power of strategic partnerships. So, which means finding returns on investments. Investments could be some euros, but we have many benefits that we can take out of partnerships when we are in open innovation. And as you know, in the construction and building industry, we'll come back to that, but sustainability is a really, really high challenge at the moment. So we are exploring this kind of project right now. How can we leverage high return on investment project on circular economy? Investing in startups, one thing, but also in the project by itself. So that's something that takes a lot of our time, of our energy to achieve, and with of course goals that you might know at the moment regarding climate, regarding greenhouse emissions. So that's really important for us, and I will explain maybe later. I know we have a topic around that. Where is circular economy applying in terms of operations? When we talk about carbon, when we talk about climate, where does a circular economy stand? And of course, we need to innovate on that. There is no ready-to-use solution or principle that can be applied just and reproduced on every project, in every business unit. So that's really important for us to do that with an innovative approach. And the innovation, most of it comes from partners. And
so you believe that a lot of innovation is still to be developed. Today, there is you don't have everything to be integrated. A lot of innovation is expected.
Yes, that's we have to build most of the things right now.
Perfect, very interesting. Julien, let's have a look to, I'm sure, Julien, you're interested to see what our audience were thinking about what keeps you up at night.
So basically, we have 25% thinking about enabling construction from recycled material. A majority of people thinking that what keeps you up at night is to contribute to the long-term vision of Bouygues, and the 20% think that it's about investing in high return on investment startups. So I think it was a little bit of the three, and it was interesting to have your vision.
Yeah, but it's interesting because you are quite interested in collaborating with startups, right? More than people might think.
Indeed,
right?
That's very interesting.
So I think it will be good also that we spend a bit of time during this session to explain also how you're working with startups and what you're looking for in terms of collaboration. Great. So you mentioned already a lot of things, Julien. You mentioned the importance of the climate change. You explained the mission to reduce the impact on the environment. But we have to be frank here. To make it happen, it has to bring economic value. So that's also the question of today. What is the good balance between profit versus circularity and missions company?
All right.
So that's what we would like to address and to ask those questions and to see the potential of disruption of circularity, including the construction industry. We would like now to address those two questions. What are the main drivers for circularity in the construction industry? And what are the main challenges? So again, our participants, ask yourself this question. It will be very interesting to see at the end what you were thinking and what Julien told us. So again, Julien, we can open the poll so we can have a look to those two questions. So let's take 1 more minute to look at the different drivers. So could it be strong regulation? Could it be enabling technologies? Could it be well-thought business model, or more expensive virgin resources? So the problem of shortage of materials. Or is it the collective effort, which is the driver for circularity? So we give you a bit more time because we see you're still thinking about it for some of you. So really think about it, because it's always the best approach to ask ourselves the question and then to have the ability to discuss it based on the feedback of the people on the field, like Julien. And
Please note that, yes, also that there is the possibility to answer several replies here.
Yeah, absolutely. So I suggest we close this poll and we go to the next one, which is going to be the main challenges, because on one side we have the driver, on the other side we have the challenges, also very important. So here again we have the question. So do you think that the biggest challenge are the cost effectiveness of circular approach, the quality and compliance of circularity products, the change that are required at the system level, and the customer awareness about the benefits? So what are the main challenges to be overcome to make possible to implement circularity? And of course, we welcome Julien now will answer on those questions according to him and his own experience, and he will share some experience, success, and maybe obstacle he is facing himself. So really answer, just take 1 more minute, and then we can go to those questions to Julien.
So again,
it's good because we have a good participation, and again, as you said, Julien, we can have multiple answers. Sorry,
no problem. I think we can close the poll and see Julien's point of view on this.
Exactly. Let's give the floor to Julien.
Wow. Great. That's really important to say that we have to be pragmatic. That's what we had along our story within wood construction with circular economy, is being pragmatic. Why would we develop circular economy on projects? That's a question that we have to ask. Who is asking that to us? And of course, you mentioned different points that are all true. Of course, we have to face regulation coming. As a story, when I started, before joining wood construction, I started a startup called Excesterra. We were involved in the management and how can we move inert materials, inert soils, and exchange soils between construction sites. And at this time, we had to deal with the Ministry of Sustainability in France and so on, and the regulations were absolutely not ready, and they were designing at this time. So we see that now we are 8 years later, and I see what happened between, and the regulation came. And that's now why we are working, for example, with startups like Jesus. They are dedicated to the soil management. And the fact that now they can have access to a market is really due to the fact that the regulation is coming and it's getting stronger every year. And we have a lot of topics to address regarding this, the pollution of soils and so on. So of course, we have to develop, if we want to reuse those materials, stronger regulation to protect the people from pollution and so on. So that's really a point that is really important. But if I come back to the why would we develop circular economy, let's start with the fundamentals. First, we all want to have a livable planet in the coming years. The second point is that we need to have access to resources in the coming years to still get access to roads, to houses, to build schools in 20 years from now. And for that, circular economy now comes a new priority. You mentioned the price and the overcost of materials. That's a reality today when we are buying materials one day, and the time the project begins, a project of construction of a school, for example, the price can have rise for 30% on specific materials. So it's also a difficulty for us to be competitive still, to bring something to value to our client. Where we are delivering a building, we say that we will sell it to a price, and then the materials prices they are just moving so much right now that it's complicated to answer with the proper price. And if we, before coming to the circular economy, of course we have to only build what is only necessary. but that's in the hand of our clients, in the hand of the landlords to decide if they invest, if they build a large of high building, if it's not too much. And the second thing is to design, I would say do eco-design is really to use and to design a project with the minimum of resources that that is needed. So to have low light, I would say, buildings using less concrete, using less product, less materials. It's really something that is really important to do before starting really a mainstream circular economy, which is really important to address. As you know, in the construction industry, we've been doing this for hundreds of years. So the improvement is now marginal gains, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the point where a circular economy is now really important. How can we still do what we've done so far using materials that maybe are second-hand materials? And it comes to the challenges. The challenges is also to advise and to be compliant at the same time with the regulation that we have in place or that we still not have in place, but to deliver materials that have the same facial value for our clients. Example, think about your house. If you are building your house and we propose to have a second-hand door for the entrance, maybe you won't agree because you don't know why, but it's a second-hand, and the second-hand products have less value for the end customers. So that's something that we have also to handle. It's a matter of culture, and we are also giving a hand to our clients, customers, investors, so that we make sure that they will get at the end the same value and the products that are viable on the long term, just like new products. For example, I really like a startup called StockPro. That's a French startup, and they are acting in the circular economy. And what they do, they are not working on second-hand products. They are putting on the market products that have been manufactured and that are in warehouses but won't be sold, as there is a new series now coming, and so they still have new materials that are on the market. Mm-hmm. Let's get in mind that 6% of the waste in the construction industry are materials or equipment that have never been used and that are completely new, ready to use. That's also when you think about circular economy, mm-hmm. How can we remarket some products that are new and that have really high value to our end customers?
Yeah, really interesting, actually. It's also what you mentioned is also to understand what there is some loss that we could avoid. So it could be either in the production process, but also in the reuse through circularity. Yeah, really interesting. Very nice.
Exactly.
So maybe we know before we go to further discuss this point, maybe we can share the result of the poll, Julien.
So let's see the results of the poll on the drivers. So we see that the results are quite balanced between all the possible answers. So that's interesting.
So do you have any comments, reaction on that, Julien?
Yes. You put it first, the business models. That's something that is really true. I have an example of if you think startups in circular economy, you can think about hundreds of startups. And I like the approach of some that are really not thinking necessarily about marketplaces, about inventing disruptive business models also, but that are coming with just a service, and a service that is using circular economy solution, that is using some marketplace at some point, but to sell and to be effective in the construction market with circular economy, you have to deliver first a service to a client. And that is really important. And I see many of the business models of the startups in the circular economy that did not reach the success they expected. It's most of the time because they were too much thinking in the marketplace will be the market. But the marketplace is a tool. And at some point, this tool, you have to transform it as a service to a client. And it's really important. We are working with one, and I could share this because it's come from an internal project from Vinci, one of our competitors. I like this story. It's called Waste Marketplace, and it's called Waste Marketplace, but they are not a marketplace. When they deliver a service so that we get access to many solutions to do circular economy on waste and on materials that come out of the sites, of the construction site. So that's really important to have in mind. You're right in your answers. Good audience.
Good audience, absolutely. Maybe we can have a look to the challenge.
Yes. So let's see the results of the challenge poll. Less balanced, or also as balanced as the previous one. So that's also interesting that every aspect can be a challenge to address to implement circularity.
What is your point of view, Julien? What is your reaction?
Yes. I really like the first one, the cost effectiveness of circular approaches. When you think about circular economy, at some point you have some logistics to handle. You have to take a material to deliver it to a new construction site, or to remanufacture it, or so on. And in the construction industry, materials are not, most of the time, they are cheap materials. The price is not that high. So if you just add the transport, or if you have to handle it with some materials and so on, the cost is really rising, and then you will not have materials at the price of the market, but higher. So it's not cost effective. And as we like to say, today the market is not ready to replace euros by a kilogram of CO2. So at some point, we still have to really cost effectiveness with those circular approaches. That's this point is really still important.
But do you think that that's the question actually. Do you think if this market is growing, which is expected actually, do you think that the fact that we're going to have more use of circularity, and then it should have a snowball effect? That's also the circularity approach. Do you think that this challenge could be less important in the coming years?
Yes, I think the market will be really open in the coming years. There is multiple action that are in place that will help to develop the circular economy. If we have a tax on the CO2, for example, of course, it will drive the manufacturers, the general contractors like us to use second-hand materials, or to reuse the materials that we've been using once. And of course, it will come from that. And then we have also a pressure coming from us as citizens. We don't want to have a general contractor that will use only new materials that will consume a lot of resources. And that's really important also to have that in mind. Probably when you will buy a house, or when you will go on the road, you will think about that you are using resources, natural resources, and circular approaches are really the key at that point. But as citizens, I think the citizens will have an impact on the fact that we'll develop the circular approaches. That's pretty clear, and we see that coming. Project by project, we see the pressure coming from the citizen on that.
The customer impact, yes. The fact that they not only consider themselves as customer, but also as doer. They have an impact, right? Good. Thank you very much to address those points. I'd like to go now a bit more about the, you mentioned the services. I'd like to go to the technologies as well, because it's interesting also to understand if technology could be game changers. You mentioned at the beginning of this session that a lot of innovation is still expected because a lot of things are still to be done. You mentioned the importance of the services as well, but we'd like to ask this question about what technology will be game changers. So again, Julien, we can launch a poll so we can go quickly to this question.
So here the idea is to see if you think that recycling technologies will change the game, if it will be about new construction processes, if digital technologies can be used to bring some circularity in the processes, or if the technologies won't be the factor that will change the use towards circularity.
It seems that we have a bit of echo. I hope it's not too disturbing. It's better now. Yeah, it's good. No, still here, but let us know if you have any challenge with this. We'll try to solve it. All right, so maybe when our participants are just taking a bit more time, I'd like also to address the fact that we mentioned the circular project supported by the European Commission named C-Voucher. And within this project, we have met a lot of startups, a lot of companies very active in circularity. Some of them were pushing for technologies, others were more developing services. And we had some of them active in the construction industry. So maybe, Julien, you can give a short highlight about it before we ask the question to Julien.
It's about 4 startups and SMEs supported by the C-Voucher project. So C-Voucher is the first pan-European acceleration program dedicated to circular economy, actually. So its aim is to enable the implementation and the replication of circular value chain across vertical businesses, but also across regions. So during the 3 years of C-Voucher, 4 companies in the field of construction were supported. 1 company in the field of modular construction, based in Denmark, Rexcon Systems. 1 company that developed a way to reuse the earth as a construction material, based in Belgium, BC Materials. And 2 Finnish companies implementing 3D printing technologies to limit the waste of construction materials, and even to reuse waste as a raw material for the 3D printing. So that's the 4 very interesting examples we had in the construction industry over the last 3 years of the C-Voucher program.
So if you want to receive more information, don't hesitate to let us know. And also, you're all very welcome on the 25th of May to join the C-Voucher 2 days, where you will meet some of those companies. So, Julien, the question is to you, actually. So, you know, could you consider that technology could be game changers in circularity, and which technology, basically?
It will be. Not only the technology will change everything. I mentioned already the culture coming in our own with our own employees. They want to change the thing. So we have the culture is also changing the way we are seeing the way we build. And of course, circular economy is in the mind of our new and younger employees. Also the business model we mentioned it. But not only, of course, technology is part of it. Many of the startups that we see, they are bringing technologies. Could come from really digital approaches, but that's part of the technology, the digital.
Yeah.
I like, I mentioned earlier, Jesus, this startup. What they do, it's really they are excavating and using the excavated soils and finding construction site that will reuse those soils. At some point, it's just taking materials, transportation, and reuse. But to do that, we need a lot of logistics, and the heart and the core of their business is the logistic. And when we think about logistic, is having thousands of possibilities, thousands of transportation systems, and through technology and their own platform that they built from scratch, of course, they can address the topic. And instead of having 1 or 2 construction sites that will be able to receive the materials, they will have like 20 construction sites and 20 different solutions. As the technology, and we'll come back to that also, but to the data that they get access to, and to have real-time information that they will scratch on the internet to have access on some information. So that's really the digital is part of it.
Yeah, you see a strong link between circularity, data, AI, actually.
Yes, indeed. And the AI, it's also when you are using materials. If we take an example, you are demolishing a wall made of concrete, then you will have to identify where does this concrete come from, what are the characteristics of it, and how could it be applied to a new process using concrete. And it will change the whole process also at the end for the formwork, the way we will cast the concrete, the wall, and so on. So it will change also for us many things on the construction site. As an operator, the guy, the workers, it will change the way also they are applying concrete. So we are also dealing with technologies and with solutions. And I get to note another example. It's really technologic in terms of recycling technologies. A startup called Ethnici, and they are using many materials coming from waste of concrete, but also how do we call that? The powder of coffee, and also porcelain, and they're really scratching it and using as a new material so that they can create from those powders new objects that will be used for the construction. So for fencing, for tiles, and so on, that will be used in the construction process afterwards. And when you think about that, you come from a powder and then you create an object. So that's a whole and completely new product and a new process to create new materials. And I see that a lot, and it's really interesting to see that there is this digital part, the AI, the traceability of materials, and the digital is really part of it, but also hardware, chemicals that are really part of the equation. If you want to apply new circular economy approaches to give birth to new products with second-hand materials at the beginning. So that's really technology is really part of it. It's really I have no example of startup in the circular economy that are not technology minded. They are now.
They are all. Sorry, I interrupted you.
No. Please go ahead.
I was wondering also about 3D printing, because we see a lot of companies also quite active here. What is your point of view on 3D printing for circularity?
3D printing might be a solution for circular economy, but it's really a really thin space. The concrete we use for 3D printing is almost a really traditional concrete. You know, we are using cement, and we are using water with it, and some sand or some particles to create like a recipe that we will use for doing 3D printing with concrete. And it's not, for us, we are not considering 3D printing as a solution to circular economy, but a solution as a new process to build. Really, we are really at the core of the construction process now on that.
Really interesting. Thank you, Julien. Julien from BLUMORPHO, maybe we can have a quick look to the poll before we go to the question about the ecosystems, where we will also address how BRIG is collaborating with startups and what kind of company you're looking for, what kind of if you have also some criteria to collaborate with companies. So let's have a look to the poll. Yes.
Yes, so most of the attendees thought that recycling technologies would be the main game changers and game-changing technologies, but as explained by Julien, I think there is some space for digital technologies.
Yeah, maybe it's a bit underestimated for the digital technology, don't you think, Julien?
Yes, I think it's I agree. It's a bit underestimated. If we think about that, at some point we really will have to transform our assets into a digital bank of products and materials. If you think about a building, it's a lot of materials, and we have to identify that. And if you think of it, then you will see the value that materials have, and you have to identify what materials are using where in your building. If you see behind me, there is this surface. I have some wood. I have some. We have to really assess the potential of having access to those materials, and we can do that only by using some sometimes complex solution, but we have to collect that through digital tools, and that's really a topic. A company doing that, a startup called Excesterra, which is working on that. It's really interesting what they are doing. They are really creating a bank of where are the materials, and that's really a digital solution at the end.
Good, thank you on that as well. Always very interesting. Sorry, we cover that. Yes. So now, okay, circularity is nice, but we can't walk into circularity if you're not working at the ecosystem level. So here, I think we're not going to go to the poll because we're a bit late, Julien. So I'd like to ask you directly the question, Julien from Brig. According to you, how do you deal with this at the level? And also the other question is how circularity could impact the distribution in the value chain. So really we'd like to understand if circularity could have a deep impact in the value chain distribution, giving access to the construction industry, for example, to new players, or how circularity might disrupt fully the building industry.
It has already started, the impact on the value distribution. Let's think if I shape our value chain, we have the landlords that are the owner of a territory of a plot. Then we will have an investor that will invest into a project so that he will build a product, a building. We will have a design team, we will have architecture, we will have then a construction, and then the maintenance and the operation of the building. So we have many players along that. And among that, you will have the suppliers of the materials. And here comes the main disruption in our landscape. It will probably come via the suppliers of the materials. When you are manufacturing concrete, and if you think that in the coming years concrete will be reused at about 50%, what will you produce as a Lafarge-Holcim, as a Unibeton, as what will be the job? And they are really in place to identify what will be their next proposition value to the construction industry. Of course, they will. The clients at the end will be, I think, not the clients, but the owners of the building will be the one that will have in hand the power to change the thing, and that also they will have some obligations, but they will ask to the contractor to use some specific materials, to ask to have some ratio of reuse materials, of circular economy into the project. And I think it will first come from the states, from public clients, they will be the first to, as most of the time when the disruption comes, we can say that the public institution comes first as a newcomers on that. So that's really interesting also for us to follow what will do our public clients. And the disruption, it's like in the, if you take the real estate, you had Airbnb, classic example. If you think about circular economy into the construction industry, I think we will have some kind of Airbnb dedicated to the reuse of materials. How can we reuse materials, but at a different scale? I think that, and it's really important, and a huge opportunity at the same time. It's the scale of a building. Circular economy, it's of course materials, take concrete, take soils, take plumbing or whatever, but it's also at the scale of a building. When you think about the offices, if you take offices, only they are full about a few percent of the time, and 30% of the time offices are empty. There is no one. And if you think about circularity, it's also the circularity of the uses of those different buildings and infrastructures. And we have a great example. It's from the Ministry of Education in France. If we take their every building that they have, they are full less than 20% of the time, meaning that 80% of the time there is no one using their building and their infrastructure, which is huge. And if we have a solution towards circular economy to make sure that we can have access to a building, to offices at different hours, during the weekends, during the holidays, and so on, then we will use less materials to build new infrastructures and to build new building. And we also have to think about using the buildings that we already have. And that's, I think that's one of the, also of the goal of circularity as a not as a mainstream word, but really as a whole approach, the circular economy of functionality. It's really something that is to take in mind at the scale of a building. It's really interesting to think about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So you are seeing a disruption coming with a big evolution of the business activity, basically, of most players, evolving from maybe the construction to more also the availability and the best use of the building. Correct? So to do that, it's a big, very interesting and big challenge that could have a big impact indeed in the environment.
It will have also, yes, as you mentioned, it will have an impact on the environment, but also as a economic benefit for the users at the end. Building less is less cost, and is less cost of operation of buildings and so on. So we are pretty sure that it will also have a positive impact on the end users, on the so very interesting.
Sorry, Julien, to operate this change, because it's a big change. So you are collaborating with startups. We covered a lot of different topics already, but what are your expectations? So we have a lot of startups with us today. We have also SMEs. We have a research organization, and I know also regions supporting startups themselves. So could you share a bit with us what you're expecting, and if you have some, some specific criteria of interest, could be quite good.
Yes. So I mentioned circular economy of functionality. We call that hybridization. That's maybe an internal word, but we are using hybridization of usage. And we are looking for startup on that. We really think that we will have, like we have Airbnb for housing, we will have on some specific verticals or specific uses, functionalities into buildings, into infrastructures. So we are really looking into that. That's a real plus for us and for, at the end, for our clients. So that's really important for us to have solutions like this. Of course, we are looking for solution on concrete. How can we get solution that will reuse concrete, as it's most of the impact on the greenhouse houses comes from concrete in the construction industry. So of course that's our main focus is on that. And how can we replace concrete with other materials? So of course wood construction is really important. So any solution that can bring wood instead or green materials instead of high CO2 impact materials are welcome, really, for any kind of functionality. That's really important for us to have access to that. And the digital solution. I mentioned what is doing Upcycler on the bank of materials. Also, we are looking for that and traceability solution, so that we might know where are the materials, where are the resources, even if it's manufactured. So that's where we see that coming and what we are looking for, that solution around that.
And what kind of maturity in terms of startups to collaborate with you?
Any maturity. We have some internal also R&D project that we are doing with a lot of research that we are doing with universities, and at some point we are really looking for new technologies that might not be mature at all, but that will improve the project that we can do collaboratively. So that's really interesting at this stage. We have some topics that we want to experiment. We want to learn. So that's really the moment for any general contractor. We want to learn how to handle circular economy, and so we have also interest in a startup that are pre-launching the product, so that we can also give advice and feedback on that. And of course, some mature solution that we can already deploy at scale. For us, the idea is really also to go fast, and to go fast, we are looking for suppliers that could be startups, that could be SMEs, that could be larger corporates, whatever. But to go fast, we have also to have partners that have the possibility to deploy their solution for thousands of construction sites at the same time.
Quite good.
Also.
So it's a good message. It's quite open, and also, Julien, you have this experience of startup. So since you have created your own startup in the past, so that's also good for startups to have people who understand what they are facing and what is the daily life of the startup. Quite good. Okay, so we might have some questions, but before that, we'd like also to know from the audience two things. If you would like to receive more information on circularity, so maybe Julien, you can open the poll about it, and also the next question will be if you want to receive more information from Julien and further connect. So yes, we can open the poll.
So what's it for you now? Now you've listened to Julien and us in circular economy. So would you like to know more about circular economy? Do you have circular solution that you would like to promote, and especially promote to maybe Julien and Bouygues? Or would you like to further implement circular economy and you are looking for some support to do it?
And please don't hesitate to answer, because of course the goal is to provide you with the right information following up this catch and do session, because as you know, the goal of the catch and do is first to catch where is the value, how to grow your business, and then to drive the right actions to be successful. So we received quite a very interesting insight from Julien today. So that's quite great, you know, to have this kind of so open discussion with you. It's really good. So maybe we can give two more seconds to our participant to answer this question, and then also ask them if they would like to receive more information from Julien or from the BLUMORPHO team, or both. Maybe we can go to this poll, Julien.
Yes. In the meantime, if you want to ask your question, you can still do in the question box on the right. and we will get
and
back
also exactly, and also to ask your question, you can ask them directly in the question box. And as you might all have received, and I'm sure you all have received it, we have developed this app where dedicated for you to interact. Unfortunately, we're not able to do all those sessions in the physical way. The good thing is that we can have a lot of discussion from a lot of different places from Europe, but it's limiting also the interaction. So that's why you have the app. You have received it, so don't hesitate to connect on it, and then you will have the ability also to exchange directly. Because, as you know, the best way to be successful in innovation is also through the ecosystem. And it might be especially true for circular economy. So maybe Julien, I'm just looking at the question. I'm not so sure we have so many questions because you answered quite well, actually, Julien, to all those points. I'm just checking right now.
We have a question about 3D printing. Maybe we can take it. Sorry. So it's a question from a startup from Netherlands called MX3D, active in the metal 3D printing field, and wondering if it was something that you ever investigated, or if you have ever started collaboration on the topic of 3D printing, metal 3D printing.
Interesting one. Well, we've been doing a lot of watching, so meeting a lot of solution on 3D printing. Of course, concrete is most of the solution that we see for building structures. Of course, is concrete, but we have also seen that using metal, and I will be really pleased to discuss also and to discover what is behind the solution on this one specifically. That's really a topic of interest. Also, as you know, metal is a good material to be reused. So that's really interesting also, as we are talking about circular economy, really interesting to discuss that.
We have also another question. We were mentioning the traceability of materials in the building. The question is, who's going to keep the record of the data, and who's going to own the data, actually? That's always a question related to data.
That is pretty clear that today, when you invest in a building, in a construction of a building, at the end, the investor is the owner and is the owner of everything, is the owner of the materials. So that's how the market works today. So the data is not the data of the general contractor, it's not the data of the supplier of the material, it's the data of the owner of the building. So that's really clear today. We might think about different way of doing that. One is we can think, maybe imagine that in the future, you could be the owner of the functionality of a building, but that for example, I mentioned Lafarge-Holcim might be the owner of the concrete that they've poured for a construction site, maybe. It can also reduce the price for the investor to build an infrastructure, and also a new business model for the suppliers of materials to keep those materials. And in this case, they might be the owner of the data as they might be their material, but it's really something that I think the regulation also will come on that. We are really active at the European Commission also to understand what is coming around data between products and product owners and institutions and private companies. So we are really looking after this topic. Very interesting question.
Thank you very much. So Julien, to close this session, maybe you have one last word that you would like to share with our participants.
Yes, the one last word is that euros won't replace CO2, and that we have to find solution to reduce. Circular economy, of course, is part of this equation, but we have to reduce the consumption of resources, of inert materials, of complex materials, and to reduce the manufacturing of it. That's the only solution that we have on the really, really long term. And that's really important to have that in mind. So go fast on the finding and developing new solutions. And I really count on startup for that.
Very good. So to look further to and to further discuss, don't hesitate to join this network. You have received the app, as I was mentioning, so you just need to register, and then you will join the network. And just wanted to also highlight that next week we keep going on this question of circularity. Don't hesitate to join also the C Voucher 2 days session, powwow, and we have a lot of series also coming in the coming weeks. So thank you very much, Julien, for this great session with you. Very inspiring, very interesting.
Thank you very much. Thank you. It was a pleasure to discuss about that. So important. You did well.
Thank you very much. And thank you to the audience. We are always here to answer all your questions, so don't hesitate to contact us. And thank you, Julien from BLUMORPHO.
Thank you too.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Bye-bye.
Bye.